Hey guys, John here. So this truck is getting close to being finished. Well, as you know, things are never done. There's always other things to do. Today's project is to pull off the rear axle because it's all rusty looking and it doesn't look very nice under there. Pull it off, sandblast it, and then paint it. I don't know if I'll get to painting it today, but that's the plan. So here's the axle. It's been all sandblasted, and I applied 2 coats of Ospo to it just to make sure we get any little bits of rust that the sandblasting didn't get rid of. So now I'm going to get set up to apply some red oxide primer. So here's the axle. I kind of didn't film the primer stage, but I got a coat of primer on there, a couple coats, and I'm at, I think, 3 coats of the black paint now, mixed with acetone and some hardener. And I'm gonna do 1 more coat to empty out the spray gun and call her good. Pretty happy with how that's looking so far. So never looks good when you've got rusty axle shafts exposed, so wanted to get those painted. Well, that looks a whole lot better, doesn't it? I'll finish this up tomorrow. Finish installing the U-bolts on the passenger side, get a new brake line in there, the breather tube, the whole 9 yards, probably throw some new shocks on I've got. Anyways, things are coming along quite nicely. Sure looks a lot better. It's going to be a better view for those that are stopped at a stop sign or a red light behind this Landcruiser. So here we are working on the white truck, trying to get it all finished up. I didn't like how the rear axle looked, so I decided to take it off and sandblast it and Ospo it and prime it and paint it. Put some Old Man Emu shocks on there. I got a few washers for the shocks I'm waiting on. And these backing plates are pretty nasty. So I'll show you when they were getting sandblasted. They're pretty rusty. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to dump the oil, pull the cover off, the rear diff cover off here, and I need to pull the tires off, and there's a little locking pin inside here that keeps with a C-clip that keeps the axle shaft in place. So then I'll pull the axle shafts out, remove all the hardware, the wheel cylinders off the backing plate, and I've got some brand new backing plates that I'm going to put on here. So we'll get this all tidied up, and yeah, we're going to get cracking here. So I'll kind of show you step by step roughly as I do this. You can see that bolt right there. That's holding that block in between the gears there. Once you pull this bolt out, there's a shaft that goes through that block. So that's going to come out, the block's going to come out, and then you'll push the end of the axle shaft in to pull out the snap ring. The drum has now been removed. Take note of the orientation of everything if you haven't done this before. So we're going to start dismantling all this, and then once I've got all this apart, I'll pull the bolt, undo the bolt, pull out the pin, pull out the block, pull out the C-clip, and then this shaft will just pull straight out. And I do have new rear axle seals that I will install on Reassembly. These shoes were installed a few years ago. There hasn't been many kilometers put on these, so these are going to go back on the new backing plate. So that's what it looks like. So the axle shaft is out. Note the position of the oil seal. It's not actually right up against the bearing. So all we got to do now is pull a wheel cylinder off, but I got to undo the brake line. And then I'll take these 4 bolts off. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then once this is off, we'll transfer this to the other backing plate, and we'll make sure it's nicely lubed up so it rotates easily. And then we can start putting everything back together again. So here it is. It was a bit of a beast to get off. What I ended up doing was heating it up a little bit with the torch all the way around, and then beating it off with this hammer here. So I just cleaned up the flange with a variety of wire wheels, sanding discs, different roll-lock discs that I put on the end of my drill. And I just brake cleaned the flange off, and I'm going to apply some fluid film to it and put the new plate on. So all I have left for this side is to finish sandblasting the drum, which I'm going to paint with some high temperature paint. I used it to kind of cover everything when I painted the center of the axle shaft. So you can see it over here. So I'll just throw this in the blaster quickly and take off that paint. That's not a high temp paint on there. So I'm going to blast that off quickly, put some high temp primer on and paint on, and then that side will be done. And then I can go back to finishing up. Then I can finish up the other side. And I have to put an axle breather hose on here and finish that as well. Anyways, we're making some good progress here. It's just before 7 in the morning. So hopefully I can get this all wrapped up by noon. right, so we've got the new backing plate on, valve crank installed nice and free, new wheel cylinder. Next, oh yeah, and then we've got this done here, right? Little spring washer and a C-clip, hold it in place. Next, we're gonna do the oil seal, and then we can start throwing everything back on here. All right, oil seal's installed. Got grease around the lip of the oil seal. Now we'll put the brake parts on, and then we'll put the axle shaft in next. Easier to put the brake parts on now than after the axle shaft's in. This is where the shoes sit. So these are the contact points that need to be lubed up. All right, axle shaft's in. Now I can put the keys in the diff there, lock everything in place, and then I'm gonna throw the drum on here and just touch up this area a little bit, spray paint it a bit, and sandblast the drum, prime it, paint it. I'm getting close to putting this thing back together again. Got the side washer there, the side washer there. And then I got to rotate this now to get the bolt in. Nothing's going to fall out now because the shaft's in there. Now I have some space to get this guy in. So the bolt's in. So that's not going to go anywhere now. We'll tighten it up, torque it. I think it's like, I can't remember offhand, I need to check, but it's not much. And I put a different drain plug in here with a long magnet to catch any particles. So that's always something you guys can do. because that's essentially your filter, right? All right, so let's get back to finishing this off, cleaning the gasket surface and throwing it all back together. So that's what it looks like with the drum painted and the end of the axle painted, and that darn else LED light in the background. That's annoying, that flashing. Anyways, just painting the drum for the other side. Got the gasket surface all cleaned up for the diff here, and the diff cover is also cleaned up and ready to go. And we will be putting a new gasket on there, of course. Well, the tires are installed. That about wraps up today's job. See the drums in the back there? It looks a lot nicer than rusty old drums. And underneath, I got everything buttoned up here. I put a new breather hose here. So that's done. Pretty happy with how this all turned out. The paint on the axle still seems a little soft, but they say it can take anywhere from 7 to 14 days to fully cure, so we'll see how that goes. There's a lot of dust and stuff up there now from grinding away, but anyways, if you found this video useful in any way, you know what to do. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.